I used to believe it was 10,000 hours or 10 years to achieve success. But one thing I realized, it's really a lifelong journey. I don't like to really put numbers or time on things. I like to just know that every single day I wake up, I'm on that mission.
Okay.
But the other thing that I also realize is it could be 10,000 hours or 10 years in one subject in your field. For me, I just look at what I do as a lifelong journey. I think too, you gotta love it. You gotta love it beyond the money. You gotta love it beyond the recognition.
Welcome to Mover Forward podcast and TV series. This is a place where you could listen, learn, and yes, level up. I'm so excited to be here once again, bringing you another epic episode. And to all my movers and shakers, this one is going to be one where you're going to want to grab your pen and your paper and get to writing some notes, because we're going to be dropping gems as usual and leveling up our thinking. Introduce to you one of our epic speakers for the year, and his name is Aaron Charles. If this is the first time that you're hearing about him, he leads Golden Triangle Development as the main boss. He guides buying properties and making plans, and has over 10 years of know-how in handling business and buildings and properties and projects. Aaron also helps others learn about real estate business through his special classes and a program he started called Masterclasses. He believes in excellence and excellence only. So I'm so excited to bring you to our table. Aaron, welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Awesome. So all of our listeners know that we actually remove the fluff from our conversation. Right. So we don't really dwell on any fluff. So we're going to jump right into strategies at this time, where we're going to dive into what kind of made you successful and really what allowed you to be sustainable. And the first thing I want to talk about is within the community, within the city of Toronto, you are really well known as a key person of influence and a subject matter expert in your field. And I wanted to dive into just something about building your expertise. We often hear that it takes 10,000 hours, right, to really achieve the mastery in your field. From your perspective, how does one really effectively build expertise and credibility in their specialized area beyond just putting in the hours?
So yeah, that's a really good statement there. I used to believe it was 10,000 hours or 10 years to achieve success. But one thing I realized, it's really a lifelong journey. I don't like to really put numbers or time on things. I like to just know that every single day I wake up, I'm on that mission.
Okay.
But the other thing that I also realize is it could be 10,000 hours or 10 years in one subject in your field. So for me, real estate has multiple subjects, right? Wow, yeah. So there's residential real estate. Are you going to focus your time and years there? Commercial, industrial, land, development, investments, mortgages. There's teaching, right? You got to learn how to teach as well. So there's so many different areas in that space. So for me, I just look at what I do as a lifelong journey. I've been doing this now for 16 years. And the other thing too, you got to love it. You got to love it beyond the money. You got to love it beyond the recognition and fame. You got to love it beyond, the hard days and the failures. Everything comes with it.
Yeah.
So for me, it's like, I really truly enjoy what I do because it allows me to really tap into who I am. And who I am is really a person that loves to solve problems. So I look at real estate as a way to solve problems. I don't look at it from a monetary perspective. The money comes, but I never really look at the dollar amount. I look at, what am I solving? What issues do I need to tackle? How can I impact the people around me? And move from there. Everything else is just second nature to me.
Absolutely. So let's just dive a little bit deeper into your strategies when it comes to building credibility. Right now, there's a lot of people just, coming up, especially on Instagram and social media, that are claiming to be something. And especially for those that are just starting out too in their field, what are some strategies that you took, like just thinking back in your past, right, to really truly build credibility?
For me, it's just simple. I just live my life being 100% authentic.
Okay.
So when I got into real estate in 2007, didn't really purchase till 2009, Instagram wasn't around. So what made me lucky is by the time Instagram came around by 2010, people started catching on 11, 12, 13, 14. I already owned 10 properties, had 50 units under my name just by doing the work.
Right.
So I kind of got lucky that way in the sense that I was actually already doing the work and I had results. So when I came online and I was just showing my day-to-day activities, it wasn't like, hey guys, look at me, I'm a guru.
Right.
It was like, hey, this is my day.
Right.
And then people start to be like, oh my gosh, this guy's flipping a house. He's buying pre-construction. He's doing this. Oh, okay. So people just saw me grow organically over the years, naturally. Like I've never done a sponsored ad. I've never stood up and said, hey, I'm a guru. I'm this, I'm that. It's kind of like story. This is my day.
Yeah.
And my day consists of me just going along doing real estate activities. And a lot of people caught on to that. The good thing is I'm starting to realize, and someone mentioned it to me not too long ago, that a lot of people in our community have kind of traced my blueprint because I did buy my first property at 21 years old. I did make my first $1 million by 24. I did have apartment buildings all through that whole journey. And I always used to drop little gems and people would come to my masterclass and then people would just start to follow what I was doing.
Yeah.
And then it created a lot of realtors. It created a lot of investors that look like me. But I didn't actually know I was doing that.
Yeah.
I was just sharing my day to day.
And that's something that is truly a strategy with what you're saying is like just showing your activity, right? And I think that's like the basics of building credibility is just showing people what you're up to, right? Because if you're not showing people what you're doing, then people are not going to know what you're doing. So I like that, being authentic as well. And then just going back to something that you spoke about is being and loving what you're doing.
Right.
Do you feel like that's important for somebody that's trying to be, you know, a key person of influence to really love what they're doing? Do they have to have that purpose, that passion, or that desire?
Absolutely. Number one, because if you don't love what you're doing, when obstacles come in your way, it's easy for you. It's going to be easy for you to quit.
Right.
Every single day, no matter what level I'm at, I bring on challenges to myself, and I feel like quitting every single day, or at least once a month, I feel like quitting. Or I question myself and I ask myself, why did I put myself through this? And then I realize the bigger picture and the bigger mission. It's like, first of all, I love what I'm doing, and two, I love solving problems. So I'm in a problem because I'm solving a problem.
Yeah.
So I got into real estate for one simple reason only, was to eliminate poverty in my personal life and then be able to transpire that onto other people to eliminate poverty. I never got into real estate to be anything else other than that. I didn't want to be a guru. I didn't want to be the guy known as the man or anything like that. Like when you really get to know me, I'm really an introvert extrovert. I like to be by myself 90% of the time because I'm mostly in my head trying to solve a problem 90% of the time. And then when I have to step out and do interviews like this or go to an event or do, whatever speaking engagement, that 10%, that also drains me a lot because I'm really someone that's closed off because I'm on a life mission to eliminate poverty within our community mentally and actually physically through the action of reaching financial freedom. So for me, it's just about breaking codes for our community. So I've been through every level and every layer of real estate and sacrificed at every stage to trailblaze other people behind me. And I'm seeing other people coming behind me a lot faster because I've been able to like push through those doors for those individuals, not knowing that was what I was actually doing, but seeing the results now. I'm just like, well, okay, there's people coming at a pace now where we can move to the next level a lot faster. And Instagram and social media is kind of giving that platform for people to see me without actually having to meet me and kind of trace their steps. And everything that I'm saying are not things that I think. It's just people coming to me and giving me hard facts like, Aaron, like over the last 5 years, everything you've said in your YouTube, I've done it, and I bought my first property, or I'm on my second, or I'm on my third, or I got my parents to believe in it, and now they're doing this. And so people come to me when they see me and stuff like that. So I'm like, oh, shoot. Like, well, now that I look back 16 years of work, I'm like, all right, cool, we're ready now.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're going to talk about collaboration and competition. I remember, and I'm going to post this as we're talking, there was a picture that was circulating the web with Diddy and Jay-Z of them collaborating in this picture. And it's really hard, I feel like, sometimes in our city for us to collaborate And sometimes we look at each other as competition to the point where there's a lot of people that I mentor and I help. And one of the biggest things that come up is that they don't want to share their ideas or talk about it because they feel like somebody's going to take it away or start to compete with their ideas. In your space, and just to kind of look at the relationships that you had, what has allowed you to really truly get past the competition and start to truly look at the importance of collaboration?
I never, like, for me, I'm just built a little bit different. Like, growing up, I've always been, captain of my team, been on many sports team, won many medals and trophies in many spaces for athleticism. So I'm used to competing. But when it comes to this space, I never look at it as I'm competing. I look at it as like, I'm just doing me, right? Real estate is truly an individual sport that you can either choose to do it with others or you can choose to do it by yourself. It's a wealth building game, but you get to build a game. The biggest problem that I see in our community in this city is everybody's fighting to be at the mountaintop.
That's a big one. He's dropping.
But for me, I don't want to be at the mountaintop because at the mountaintop, there's not a lot of people there. Who am I going to learn from?
Right.
I'm still at the bottom, still learning. But I feel like there's this race to the top so everyone can scream that I'm the man. But one thing that I know is kings get their heads cut off. So if you go there too fast without the right resources and the right support, you're going to die at the top.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? So for me, it's always understanding that I'm a student in this game. I love the game so much that I still want to be the student. But everybody wants to be at the top teaching and screaming. But we also have to understand we're first generation. What do we really know?
Right.
So we need to humble ourselves and understand that there's so much more to learn and soak it all in versus trying to say, I figured it all out, because we haven't figured it all out.
Yeah.
There's generations and generations and generations that came before us that have built the system that we're now trying to penetrate. And then we're trying to now create solutions to get our people involved. There's so much work to be done. So all that I'm seeing is people are wasting their time trying to get to the mountaintop. But all we need to do is congregate together at the bottom, share our resources, share our knowledge, and build slowly, and we'll get there.
Yeah.
Right? So for me, it's like my dad always said to me, like, what's the rush? What do you, like, in terms of growing up, right? Why are you trying to grow so fast? Enjoy every step, enjoy every stage, instead of rushing through it, because then you can't come back.
Yeah.
You can't go to the mountaintop, scream, I'm the man, then come back down and say, sorry, I'm not. People are just, you lose your credibility.
Yeah.
So you want to grow, like, goes back to our thing. You got to just grow organically and be authentic, take your time, and be quiet, because the reason why I'm not screaming at the top is because I fail every day, right? And when you fail every day and you fail in private, you allow yourself to fix your mistakes. But when you go into the light and you say, I'm the man and I perfected it, and then you make a mistake, everything gets highlighted on you. And then you may not be able to handle the pressure of failure because everyone's watching you, judging you, right? So when you do things privately and you do things on the low, you get to fix your mistakes and rejig things. And then you can figure out when you want to come out and say, okay, I'm here.
Yeah.
Right?
I think there's different ways to do it too. Like, failing forward.
Fail forward, yeah.
Right. And failing where people could see you. Because I feel like sometimes in social media and these spaces, like, we're all in this bubble where everything appears to be perfect and nobody really truly sees people failing. So I think that you have to have a strategy too of what you show people and what you're failing at. But
failing forward is, you have to be careful how you fail forward, right?
Yeah.
Some people fail forward by dropping something and moving on to the next thing.
That's true.
Failing forward is more of, you started something, you went to the finish line, you got results, but not the results that you wanted. So the next time you do it, you can improve by 5%, 10%, but you're still on that same path, but not picking things up, dropping it, picking things up, dropping it, and moving forward. Like, I see people, 1 minute they're a crypto boss or a crypto professional, and then crypto's down, so now they're into trading, and that's down. Now real estate's down, they're into this. It's like, how are you ever going to build credibility when you can't show people that you're willing to stick it out, right? For me, I've been to 2 recessions. I've been through 2 legislation changes, foreign buyer changes. I've been through so many changes. I've been through so many waves in real estate. It's crazy. Like, when I bought my first property in 2009, interest rates were 5%. Fast track, now we're in 2023, interest rates are 5%. So where I started and where we are now is at the same, but then I went through when it was 2%, 1%, 3%, 4%, 1%. I've been through the ride. So I know how to position myself, because I've stuck it out long enough where now I have key indicators of when certain things are gonna happen, or what I should do when I start to see these indicators. So that's how you truly build yourself as a professional, is by going through enough situations where you have to make adjustments.
Yeah, absolutely. So just like looking at your business strategies then, not just dwelling too much on the real estate side, but just business on a whole. You kind of brushed over it, but I want to really dig a little bit deeper, is because when you're in business, there's things about like staying afloat, there's sustainability. What are a few strategies that you've taken along the way to allow you, because you said you started in 2009 and we're like 2023. So that's
Time flies.
right. So there's a lot of people, like you said, that they're starting in crypto, they're moving different places. So what is a key strategy of yours that allow you to be 2009, 2023 year now?
For me, it's just, one, it's about running a lean ship.
Okay.
Right. So
what does a lean ship mean?
Running lean is just basically not taking on too much employees, not taking on too much overhead and expenses. If you don't need an office, work from home. I remember going to Staples, buying my little paper, my booklet, working from my bedroom, and I felt accomplished. But just running lean, low overhead, not taking on too many projects that cost you capital. So, maybe you and a friend may share the budget for a podcast, or you may share on an assistant, just cut your expenses as much as possible. So that's what I used to do. Money, every time I made money, I just made sure I kept as much money as I made. So it's not how much money you make, it's how much you can keep.
Right.
And then on top of that, then you want to always reinvest back into your business, but reinvest back into assets. Okay. So I had this conversation today with a client is, every time I made profit or every time money came in, I made sure I bought assets. And because I ran lean, I was able to stay afloat. But after a couple of years, those assets start to grow, right? So now, let's say I bought 2-3 properties that year, and then the next year those properties went up 100,000. Well, that's 300,000 that assets just brought me that I can now use to maintain my business and then continue to buy real estate.
Right.
So I always found a formula where I always tried to, every dollar I made, I allocated it towards expenses, my lifestyle, and majority of it went back into my business.
Okay.
So I lived very lean for about 8 years, right? So nothing fancy. I never really went clubbing. I never really partied. My money just went back into the business and just taking care of my basic needs, and then continued to buy assets that supported my business. And then eventually I had enough assets and enough equity and enough income coming in to start to support the bigger endeavors that I want to do down the road.
Yeah, actually, all of the speakers that I've had on my podcast, that's one of the biggest things they've said, is that they just kept their head down and worked, and you didn't go out and party. And,
No.
You just didn't really have time for that.
No.
Why do you think that was a key decision that you had to make really quick in your business?
I don't know if it was just natural, but I get anxiety when I don't feel progress. So anytime I put myself in environments where I feel like I'm going backwards versus going forward, and you can tell, it's just a lot of people just ignore it, right? They're ignorant to that feeling. Like, you will know when you look in your bank account and you're like, okay, I spent $5,000 tonight partying. And then you look at, and you do it again and you do it again. And next thing you know, you spend $30,000. Then you start to say, wow, that $30,000 could have bought me a property.
Absolutely.
Right? That $30,000 could have got me an assistant for the year. So when you start to look at things logically, then it all makes sense. What I think is, a lot of people play business instead of do business. So a lot of people want to say they have a business. A lot of people want to say they want to be an entrepreneur because it's a cool thing and it sounds sexy and it's appealing. But then they neglect their business.
Right.
For me, I love doing business, so everything I do is for my business. Like, I'll run myself dry to get to the next stage and sacrifice everything else. Like, I'll sell my cars, I'll sell my watch, I'll sell my house, I'll move into a basement apartment right now if it was to move my business to the next level.
Yeah.
So I've been sacrificing my whole life, and there's always been times where I felt like, okay, I made it. I'm in a stage where I can just go buy the big crib, I can go buy the house, I won't get the Rolls Royce, do this and do. Then I'm like, no, I gotta buy this piece of land. So gone again. Then I'm just back to basics, right? Because I understand that materialistic things only hold certain value for only a certain period of time, and then I start to look at things for what they are, not for how it's sold to me, right? So for me, this is just not. If this was Louis Vuitton, I'm not looking at this as just a cotton shirt, right? So I'm just breaking things down to its most basic form and realize, is it worth investing my time and energy into that, or do I want to continue moving the mission forward? And the mission is so big for me right now that if I don't do that, I'm letting millions of people down.
Yeah. Yeah. So you're always looking at like the return on investment.
Return on investment, right? So exactly.
So like risk management, because there's a lot of entrepreneurs in business, and like, let's talk about the individuals that's been in business for a while. When we're looking at risk management, I know taking risk is probably something you do all the time. And I remember a comment you made is like every day you think about giving up, right? Because you're probably just taking a whole lot of risk.
Yeah.
What are some tips that you can give us when we're looking at our business and taking risk?
Ooh. So for me, it's risk is all based on the individual, right? The motivation, like why does this person feel like they need to take this risk, or why does this person feel they don't need to take that risk? For me, I grew up in a very aggressive environment where I felt like if I didn't do something today, tomorrow I can die, right? So I grew up in at-risk neighborhoods, violence, drugs, mishaps happen, you see people die, your friends die at 15, 16 years old. Then you're like, yo, I gotta make this change right now. And then there's some people that don't go through that, and they go through the channels of, high school, then university and career, and spend a couple of years there and then transition into business. For me, business was do or die. Like, it was like, figure this shit out, learn what you need to learn, because you need to get out of this, else the longer you're here, the more this can consume you. So the funny thing is, like, when I finished high school, I didn't even have the joy of filling out a university application. I was just like, yo, I gotta start a business, I gotta do something. So my decision was to get into party and promotion.
And that's a risk in itself too.
That was a risk, yeah.
Because like coming out of high school and college or just anything, people were doing the same thing and like being on autopilot.
Yeah.
So just going against the grain, that's a risk on its own, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And you've probably gone through a lot of risks that didn't pay off.
Absolutely.
Right? So how do you bounce back from that? Because there's a lot of people right now taking risk within their lives and businesses. How do they really truly bounce back?
Research. Like, another tip I'll say is research successful people. You will see whatever they went through, you're gonna go through it in some shape or form. And then there's a simple formula, like 9 out of 10 businesses fail, start 10 businesses.
Right.
Right. And that what it's saying is just you're gonna fail. It's not gonna always pan out. And you just gotta keep pushing forward. The other thing when it comes to managing risk is, can you afford to take the risk? Can you afford to take the loss?
Right.
Everything I've done and everything that I've lost, I was able to afford to take that loss. It wasn't my last, or it wasn't something out of my capabilities where I couldn't bounce back. And then when you start to grow in business, you want to start putting people beside you that can manage you, right? So I'm a very risky person because I'm always pushing things forward.
Yeah.
But then I have my CFO, my accountants, my business associates that will say, okay, we get it.
Yeah.
We know where you want to go, but let's look at all these things and let's see when the right time is to move. Because they can't say we're not going to do it.
Yeah.
Because I'm going to rebel.
Yeah.
But if you tell me, let's create a clear path, then that's how, and this is how we're going to map it out, then we move forward. So putting managers in place that can help protect you from yourself is like the biggest like lesson that I've learned.
Yeah.
Putting people around you that give you genuine advice.
Yeah, that's good feedback. Something that you just said that was actually really powerful, because there's a lot of visionaries, right? Especially people who have businesses right now. Feel like in business, you have to have a council of people around you.
Absolutely.
So you're making really good decisions. Sometimes I see people in business and I'm just like, did you bounce that off of somebody? Did you fact check that? And it's kind of like, how did you come up and make that decision, right? So I think that's a huge strategy that you just shared, is like, you need to have a CFO, you need to have an accountant, because some of us business owners are making some really interesting risk and spending a lot of money that we don't need to really spend.
A lot of it too is ego, right? You got to take ego out of the equation. And this is grown Aaron speaking to you, right? So I was that egotistic. I got it, I made it, this is my way, and I realized I wasn't getting anywhere. But when I took myself away and I said, okay guys, look at what I'm doing, how can I grow, how can I get to the next level, where are my strengths, where do you see my strengths, and what are my weaknesses, and how can you plug those holes for me? So when you start having authentic conversations with people and being vulnerable and saying, okay, I autopiloted, I got here, I winged it, Cool.
Yeah.
How do I now turn it into business? Because a lot of us, especially in our community, we're hustling. We're not doing business yet, right? We've caught a wave.
Explain that.
Meaning, like, we just caught a wave, and then you rode the wave, and then you made your money, but then there's no system in place. So when you don't have a system in place in terms of allocation of funds, and diversification, employees, structure, accounting strategies, offshore strategies, asset protection, life insurance, and different things, you're hustling because you're making money. You're hustling,
Right.
but you're not creating business, and then you're not creating a shelter and a protection around your business.
Yeah.
So I just kind of graduated out of hustling, and I'm now getting into business by having a CFO, having a COO, having an accounting team, having a construction team. Now it's business. Now it's like I don't even go into my company's bank accounts without the permission of my CFO.
Right.
Like, can I get paid, please? Like,
Yeah.
oh, like that's how. But it's putting protections in place
Right.
to control business.
Yeah.
Right. Then I have my lawyer, my legal staff to say, like, I can't just jump on a Zoom and say whatever I want. I have to run it by my legal team, and
Right.
if I don't know the answer, I can't just shoot it out from wherever.
Yeah.
I have to be like, let me run it by counsel.
Yeah.
Because everything now matters.
And it's a system.
It's a system.
Yeah, that's actually a key strategy when trying to grow a business. And you said something, again, lots of gems about just hustling, right? Like,
Yeah, most of us are just hustling.
a lot of us, because we've come from that
Nothing.
survival.
Exactly.
And we've come from nothing.
Yeah.
So it's like, now how do we shift gears and bring the community out of survival mode? And it's through systems.
And build
So
and
just
build
love that you
build
said
business.
that.
Yeah.
Actually, the first time we spoke, it was actually on social media, and one of the first things that we connected on was reading.
Oh yeah.
And I remember a very long time ago in my life, I remember I met a millionaire, and I asked him, like, how did you get and become a millionaire? What is a key strategy of yours? And he goes to me, do you like to win? And I said, yeah, because I'm very competitive. I love to win. He's like, then start reading. And I know when we connected, the importance of reading to you was very important. So I wanted to actually just take a dive into your library for a second. If you had to pick 3 books that has left a lasting mark on your life, what would those 3 books be?
So my top 3 books, that's a tough one because I just can't narrow it down to 3 books. And the crazy thing about me is, like, I start a lot of books and then I don't finish a lot of books because just sometimes I just get it.
Yeah.
I just get the concept and I move on, or I breeze through it because some books are repetitive.
Yeah.
Woo.
3 books.
3
Move
books.
forward right now. Let's do it.
Think and Grow Rich.
Okay.
I really love Think and Grow Rich. These are my two most recent reads too, so this might not be fair, but Think Like a Monk
Okay.
is a really good book. And I'm reading this book right now called The Obstacle is the Way.
Oh, wow. Okay. I'm going to note these.
And The Obstacle is the Way is probably my favorite book right now.
Okay. And something that has come up is like reading routines, right? A lot of people now, it's just like fast life, right? Especially those with a family, business, 9 to 5s. How do you build in reading into your habit? And, how do you find that balance where now it's not just like, okay, I'm going to read, but it's more like a lifestyle now?
Wow. See, for me, it's unfair because my upbringing is why I do a lot of reading.
Okay.
So my dad, Trinidadian immigrant parent, didn't believe in TV. It was books. So my whole life was reading. Now that I'm in the life that I'm in now and I don't have to read, I choose to read because I use reading as a form of mentorship,
Okay.
a form of meditation, and a place of happiness.
Wow.
Because I feel very happy when I read certain texts in terms of like, okay, that person went through that. Oh, I'm not by myself. Okay, that person went through that situation. Okay, I can recognize with that because believe it or not, where I am in my life, I can't speak to a lot of people about what I'm going through because A, they're not where I am, or B, like I'm just not in that arena as well. So like let's say what's the word I'm looking for? the demographic, right? Like I'm not in that club. I haven't been invited there. And then where I am, people don't understand where I am. So I'm stuck in the middle.
In the middle.
So I find books of people who are going through what I'm going through, and I use it as a form of like mentorship. And then I meditate by reading, and then I just get I just get peace to know that I'm not the only one going through it. Because once you feel like you're not the only one going through it, then you're like, okay. So the obstacle is the way. It's like, okay, I get it. It's like, oh, Aaron, how dare you reach for the mountaintop and feel you're not going to go through anything? Okay, cool. I'm supposed to go through this right now. And I feel better. I bring my anxiety levels down. There
was a speaker actually on my podcast, Mike Yatt. He actually said very similar to what you said. He was looking for a mentorship, and he found it in reading.
Oh, my mentorship.
He found it in YouTube, and that's so key. Like, you can be trying to find a mentor, and really and truly, information is all around us. So there's really no excuse. Like, you can find a mentor in anything.
I tell people that all the time. I'm like, you know, mentorship comes in the form of so many things.
Right.
Like, I can meet you today, and and you can just drop one gem, and I never see you again. You mentored me for that moment. Yeah. The problem with most people is they feel mentorship is somebody that has to hold their hand.
Right.
Because everyone wants hand holding. Nobody wants to go into the battlefield by themselves. They're scared. So they have to acknowledge that there's fear there, but they have to also acknowledge that no one's going to take them into the field. They got to go in there and figure it out. And then when they're in there, they got to be resourceful and look for clues and look for tips on their own. And then that's the YouTube, that's the podcast, that's the master classes, that's the event that you're supposed to go to. I pull little gems from every little thing.
Right.
Right? It's just 1% a day. I always tell my team, we're just trying to grow 1% a day.
1% compound interest. So when is the best time that you read? In the morning, night? What's your routine?
Ooh. I usually read before bed.
Okay.
I read usually an hour before bed. And then on holidays, like I crush reading. Like Thanksgiving was this weekend. I crushed 150 pages. So out of a 200-page book. Anytime I find quiet and peace, I always walk with my book as well too. So let's say I had a down hour at work or half an hour, I'm reading. Yeah, I just try to make it fun.
Fun.
You gotta make it fun.
Are you digital? Are you?
I'm hard copy.
Hard copy.
With a highlighter and a pen.
There you have it. So the way that we end our episodes, I always end it like this. And the reason why is because especially entrepreneurs and, Black women, and that's just esteemed and trying to make something for themselves. We need actionable items and tips. So through your lens right now, in 60 seconds, if there was an actionable advice or a tip that you can give to Black women right now, what would that be?
Ooh, that's a good one. Like I said, I'm very proud of, the Black women in our community. They've been a great example. They really got their stuff together right now in terms of income, job, and savings. It's just continue to collaborate and network and put yourself in environments where you guys can build and grow.
Yeah.
And one thing what we have to recognize as men as well too is to be there to guide as much as we can. And there's a lot of things I know that we can learn from you guys as well. And then for you ladies as well, is to invite the men in a little bit more. You guys are very headstrong right now, but right. I think we need to come together as a race, not as segregate as gender, and just say where are your strengths, where are your weaknesses, things where you may fall short, we may be able to pick you guys up. But it's just I just think we need to continue doing what we're doing, continue to help you build your platform and grow. But I just think we need to come together more, and we need to support each other more. And I feel like we need to come together more on more missions and movements and be there authentically. I feel a lot of people are just come into things because they want to catch a quick win,
right? But
they're not there to really build and grow for the next 10, 15, 20 years. I'm surrounded by so many different groups of individuals, and they think 20, 30, 40 years. So when we start to think 20, 30, 40 years, whatever happens along the way doesn't really throw us off the mission.
Yeah.
Because we already know the mission is so long.
Right.
Right? So I just think we need to stop thinking so immediate or so short term and really just come together and bring the boys and bring the ladies, and let's really build and grow, because I think we all bring different values to the table. Like the way like I have women on my team where it's like the advice they give me is totally different than the men.
Right.
But I need both.
Right.
Because there's soft skills, hard skills. There's so many different ways of looking at things. And, you know, the woman's going to protect me more than my boys. But like, yeah, let's do it. Let's do it. She'll be like, Aaron, like, are you really ready? Like, did you really look at this, and that? So now I have both perspectives. Right. And it just comes from a place of love. But I think we're doing very well. I think I'm so proud to see everybody out there doing their thing. I remember when social media just started, it was just really me and maybe 2 other people out there really doing it. But now I see your platform. I see so many other people's platform. Just the one thing I want to just put out there is we just got to be careful with what our intentions are. We got to make sure that we're doing it to really help advance people forward.
Yeah.
And just make sure that you're accessible as well. I see a lot of people, the community pours into them and they get that recognition and they get that fame and then they abuse it by not being accessible or overcharging. I think we're not in a place right now where we should be charging each other, but I think it should be more in a pro bono collaborative effort where it's like me working with you would turn into something versus you paying me to get something from me. Because I am where I am because people poured into me and paid it, and now I'm paying it forward, right? I'm not hoarding that information and saying, well, this is just for me. It's someone took time and put into me, and I know what that did for me and how it changed my life, and here we are. Have $225 million worth of real estate development on the go. And I started with $0, right? My parents never gave me anything to start what I'm doing. And people have poured into me. So I now know that if someone saved my life and gave me that opportunity, I must now do that for others and give them a chance and try and help them because maybe I'm saving their life as well too.
Yeah.
So everything that we do, we have to understand that we're saving the next young Black girl's life or boy's life because we really came from nothing, right? And we're really behind the 8 ball. But that is also that handicap. I always tell my team, our handicap is our advantage. And when we start to flip it upside down, that is our advantage.
Yeah.
Right? So
big point. Yeah. Wow. With that being said, guys, listen, learn, and yes, level up. This is truly an epic episode, and I cannot wait for this to go out because you've dropped so much gems, Aaron, and you've truly moved us forward. So with that being said, do remember to hit that subscribe button and do hit that alert button so you can get notified every time that we have a new episode out. Thank you again for listening. Lock in and do remember, move forward. With that being said, thank you so much, Aaron.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Take care, everyone. Bye.